Let me make sure everyone knows this before we go into break, and then I'll tell you everything that happened in my day yesterday. Because it's so goddamn hypocritical and funny. And this is the last time I'm talking about it, by the way. I'm dropping this topic about Colorado and all that, because the whole thing's so stupid anyway. I mean, I don't even know what the hell the furor is. I think everyone's looking to find some devil or demon in this. You know. You know the Colorado State Legislature yesterday tried to pass a law telling them to throw me off the air?
Really?
Yeah. Isn't it the same place that had something to do with gays? The legislature in Colorado?
Yes,
what was that?
Remember they didn't want to have gays. No, civil rights.
Gay civil rights. Yeah. You know what? I'm proud to be condemned by the state legislature of Colorado. I'll go right up there with the gays. Please. Please. You know what I want to say.
Please.
Anyway, because it's so, I've seen so much hypocrisy in my life. I've had an unusual life, and I've seen so much hypocrisy, and this is the height of hypocrisy. In Colorado, a young girl of 18 can buy a gun and give it to a kid, and it's legal?
Yeah.
How's that? They're worrying about me.
They can't change that one.
Well, they can change me. They can try and get me off the air. By the way, for saying the following, gee, I wonder if those kids had sex with the girls, or I wonder why the guys didn't have sex with the girls before they killed them. Like, what was the motive? What were they trying to do? That because I dared to wonder that, to think out loud.
It's not legal to wonder.
Nobody else thought of that.
It's not legal to wonder. It's legal to sell guns.
Yeah. It's not legal. It's not legal for me to try to figure out what these kids' motives were. Because I'm a guy, and I'm trying to figure out the motive. That's not legal, but guns...
You can bring a gun show into town.
And the legislature acted swiftly on me, but can't act on that.
They still don't know what to do about
that.
They
can't figure out to somehow ban the sale of guns to 18-year-olds and then allowing the legal transfer to minors. They can't figure out that that's wrong.
Or even to have a waiting period for these gun shows, They just can't figure that out.
Yeah, I want the names of all the guys who condemn me. I want to see these hypocrites. I want to find out how they live. Boy, I'd love to announce that on the air. Hypocrites. I've seen hypocrisy my whole life, starting at a very early age. I lived with a bunch of white people who said, we should love our black brothers. And they all moved out overnight as soon as black people moved into the community. Hypocrisy. People are all liars. People are liars and fakes. Now, you know what? I want to say, obviously, anyone who listened to this show the last 5 days knows I was pissed off about the shootings in Denver, and I was very, very reverential about the subject, and I'm very sensitive to the subject. The fact that I wondered aloud what the motive was in this is absolutely bizarre. That now the Colorado State Legislature, they didn't find out what I had to say about the topic.
They hadn't listened to this show.
They read in the newspaper that people were upset with me, and they react because they want to look like they're doing something.
Right.
So, okay, they did something fine. They banned they want my show off the air. And who knows, my show might be taken off the air. But go ahead. What am I going to do? Who cares? You know what? I was talking to my mom and dad about it last night, and I just said, I'm so weary from all this hypocrisy. And they said, you know what? So what happens? They take you off the air? Who cares? Who cares? Really, life's too short. Who cares? I said, you got that right. Ridiculous. So ridiculous. They can't even pass gun laws. Colorado State Legislature. Well, I got to remember everything they did about the gays. Like the gays aren't humans. Like they're not the sons and daughters. You see, that's what drives people to kill. When you're a gay man and the legislature votes against you and treats you like you're a subhuman, then you get pissed. Yeah, anyway. Okay. I'm not going to lecture today. Yes, I am.
Yes, don't be another liar and a hypocrite.
Yeah, I don't want to be a liar. I will try not to lecture that much. How's that? Yeah, Helen, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Helen. I want you to know that everybody that's using this tragedy to get you thrown off the air should be put in jail, if not murdered, because we have a tragedy where children are dead.
Yeah, of course.
And you have all these fat-ass bureaucrats trying to get you thrown off the air to use this to their advantage, something that has nothing to do with this, instead of concentrating.
Well, the whole thing's ridiculous. I'll be the first one to say that. I've said outrageous things. This isn't even outrageous, what I said. I'm a little disappointed. And I'll tell you the truth, I no longer feel worried about this. I feel free, because once I see hypocrites like the Colorado legislature come down on me so quick, I realize nobody's even listening to the comments I made.
Right.
They're just reacting to some newspaper stories. And the Colorado, you know, it's funny. Yesterday, thanks for the call. I'm going to hang up on you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Helen. Yesterday, I'm sitting at my house and talking to the kids, you know, doing my thing, doing my dad thing. Talking to my wife, and I said, I had a miserable day, you know, this silly thing with Denver. I said, it absolutely makes no sense. And everyone was saying, why worry about it? You know, everyone was getting all upset. So I said, look, I'm not really worried about it. I said, I'm past the point of worry. I said, it just really pisses me off that a bunch of disc jockeys are getting their way with me. Although they're really not, because I'm probably going to have huge ratings in Denver now. But this isn't the way I choose to get ratings. You know, this is silly. So then, anyway, I'm on the phone with the guys who run the television show for CBS. So they sent me a fax. Howard, another strong rating in New York. Oh, by the way, this is the show that everyone's saying sucks, the Saturday night show that is failing, that is getting, you know, we're getting beaten. Howard, another strong rating in New York. We pulled a 5.612 share. We beat Mad TV in New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, blah, 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 blah. Oh, then there's about 20 markets he mentions. We tied SNL in Philadelphia, beat them in, and then there's a list of places we beat them. Below, this is good. Below is a copy of the most recent Colorado story concerning you. I guess the Colorado legislators will start working on a new gun legislation bill any day now. Because here's what they did. Colorado lawmakers denounced shock jock Howard Stern. I love this. Colorado legislators passed a resolution Tuesday asking a local broadcaster to drop radio shock jock Howard Stern's program after he asked on the air if the two gunmen who slaughtered 13 people in a high school had tried to have sex with female students during the attack. I can't ask that. They can't ban guns. They can't ban the selling of guns to people who then give them to minors. You know it's legal in Colorado to give a minor a gun? Like you can go buy it and then give it to them. What is that about? That they can't work on. The Colorado state legislature demanded an apology from Stern, which they'll never get, because none of these hypocrites actually bothered to listen to what I had to say. The Colorado state legislature demanded an apology from Stern, who asked on his nationwide radio program the day after the Columbine High School horror if the two teenage gunmen had tried to have sex with female classmates. Of course, as I've explained 20 million times here, we were saying, what was the motivation behind these killings? You know, I also asked, did they rob people? Please, I'm not going to go into the whole stupid thing. The state lawmakers overwhelmingly passed a non-binding resolution asking local radio station KXPK that carries Stern to stop broadcasting his program. By the way, this is the kind of behavior that drives people to kill. When you're not listened to, when you're picked on and bullied. And that's what they're doing. They didn't listen. They didn't even look into this. The legislators said Stern must be censured for his comments and send a letter of apology to Columbine High School.
Oh,
I don't even think the parents have to do that. The parents who couldn't even tell that their kids had loaded pipe bombs into the house.
And Columbine is closed.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me start composing a letter so I don't worry these hypocrites. Stern, in Tuesday's program, denied he had been insensitive and attributed the complaints about his program to competitors. We're getting ratings and starting to get attention in Denver, Stern said. He said his comments, such as, did those kids try to have sex with any of the good-looking girls, referred to motive. Well, why can't that be understood? Why can't I have a day in court before you condemn me? If you were a legislator, wouldn't you want to say, hey, what did Stern say?
I wouldn't even be concerned about a radio show. How
Thanks.
about that?
Yeah, well, you make too much sense. He noted that advertising in Denver had been pulled from the station in response to his remarks and said listeners in the 50 other markets where his show was heard did not complain. So, listen, this is great stuff. You got to hear this. So in Cleveland, where we never received a complaint about anything I said about Denver, and by the way, we didn't receive a complaint that day from anybody, any of our listeners.
Not even Denver.
Not even in Denver. It wasn't until J-Core Broadcasting's very own DJs decided to make this an issue. Two DJs who are on against me in the morning made this an issue. And I happen to be getting ratings, and they're not. So then in Cleveland, John Lanigan, who, of course, has been unseated, he's the #2 guy to my #1. He used to be #1 till I came to town, who works for J-Core Broadcasting, got on the air and tried to stir up the same trouble in Cleveland.
Oh, they're doing it again.
He spent almost the entire morning bashing Howard and using Howard's quote out of context. Ever since Lanigan did this, the station's been getting phone complaints and emails.
See? It's working.
So, but by the way, our general manager in Cleveland's bright enough not to go on the air and apologize. It should be pointed out that John Lanigan works for J-Core. Is there a coincidence? I wonder.
They finally come up with a strategy.
In fact, I received a letter from Dave Jockers who said to me, I looked everywhere to see where Lanigan might have gotten this story, but couldn't find it. It wasn't in the paper in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. You think J-Corps is using this in its markets to compete with Stern?
It's on some kind of a company memo.
Well, probably not, but is there a conspiracy? Yes, of course.
Police.
And John Lanigan can't beat me any other way than to get me off the air. Shame on you, Lanigan, you freaky jerk. Does your wife still listen to me every morning, stupid? I think so. We all know she does. How's that feel? The wife you got from having a radio show, because you're so goddamn ugly you never could get a woman that good looking, listens to me and not you. Deal with it. Deal with that every day of your life. If you manage to get me thrown off the air for something so insensitive, you just still got to live with the fact that you couldn't beat me. And you're in Cleveland.
And your wife will have nothing to listen to.
Right. And now your wife's going to have to listen to your dumb show. It's unbelievable. So yesterday, Vinny and Mitch informed me that the Colorado State Legislature had, censured me or whatever the hell. What do they call it? Condemned me. I'm a condemned man. And I said, oh, what hypocrites. If you want the answer to why kids do this kind of behavior, you can't blame, forget about me, you can't blame Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can't blame the parents, you can't blame society. This kind of behavior, kids killing, adults killing, has been going on throughout history. There are people who are unstable. And I'll give you a story when I think about this. And if this is insensitive, well, I'm sorry. I don't know what's sensitive and what's insensitive. I don't know, but I'm trying to just make sense of it just like anyone else. When I was a kid, I did have an unusual experience in that I lived in an all-black high school. And some of the violence that was done to me, personally, if I had been an adult and I'd been walking down the street and had been choked, robbed, and beaten by youths, I probably could have pulled out a gun and shot them. Or I could have had them arrested. I could have, you could
have gone to court. You could have done something.
The things that were done to me in high school on a daily basis would have broken most people. I know this. And I can imagine, and I'm not defending these two kids by any means, but I can imagine that the jocks in the school, and this is what's got to be looked into, who ridiculed these kids constantly, must have made their lives unbearable. Made these two kids' lives unbearable. Now, most kids can withstand it. Most kids go through it. A lot of kids have been bullied in high school, and they come out fine. And sometimes they come out better people. You never know. But some kids crack.
Oh, yeah.
And they crack big time. And even adults. I see adults here in the workplace. There are people who are unstable that work in the workplace.
Oh, there's plenty of disgruntled employees who eventually go back after being picked on and bothered at work.
And I see
everybody at work.
Right. I see people ridiculing these people. I see it go on all the time. People snickering. These are adults. And high school is one of the most vicious places. And if you want to condemn somebody, if you really are interested, and if you're a Colorado legislator and you really want to condemn these kids who relentlessly pick on the weak, who pick on the freaks, who pick on the ones that can't protect themselves. Condemn them. Don't condemn me. I was on the air talking, ad-libbing, trying to figure out what the motive was. Trying to come to grips with it. This is an outrage that the Colorado legislature would react to something some disc jockeys fabricated. There wasn't one complaint about anything I said in any market that I'm on. There was nothing insensitive said. And I'm not going to, yesterday I was leaving the radio station, and there were boatloads of reporters out in the lobby trying to get a statement from me. I snuck out of the building. I wouldn't give them a statement on this. I'm not going to sit and play into this. Please take me off the air. Do me a favor. I don't need this anymore. My job is, I'll enjoy my job for as long as you'll allow me to do it. I'll come here, I'll talk, I still get a high from it, some sort of high. So I'll continue to do it. But do you want to hassle me about this? Take me off the air. Go ahead. Do it. Who cares? Take me off the air. If I'm so bad. Who cares? It wasn't this kind of show that caused those shootings. It's not insensitive remarks. It's the insensitive remarks of kids who relentlessly pick on people and don't even know to stop. And some kids can't handle it. High school's a tough place, man. That's a tough room. I know. On many occasions, I was taken, beaten, my money was robbed, I was choked until I passed out, and I was punched in the face numerous times by gangs of 2 and 3 guys at a time, and sometimes these guys were 20 years old. 20 years old, and I was 14 or 15. These guys were 18, 19. You know, I've been, I rode a bicycle once in the street, and a gang of 5 black kids pushed me off my bike, punched me and my friend, robbed us, and this would happen to me on a daily basis. And I believe me, I don't say I'm normal from it. Believe me, if I had taken out a gun and shot these kids, I might have been within my rights. A court of law might have said you were within your rights.
It would look like this.
Oh, it would look like this. That's right.
It would look like this.
You can only push people so far. You know, and I don't know what was done to these kids. I mean, I'm only reading the accounts in the newspaper like anybody else. And as far as the parents go, I find it hard to believe that there are parents on the planet that don't know their kids are spewing out Nazi propaganda, building pipe bombs. I mean, take a little interest. Take a little bit of interest.
But there are tons of, you know, you can tell parents what their kids are doing. They say, no, my son would never do that.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to come to grips with. And you know what? Not every parent is a trained psychologist, and not every parent's going to know how to handle this.
Very few are.
You know what? And here's the thing the media ought to concentrate on. As soon as something like this goes down, look how much attention is given to this. You know, the other day I was at my daughter's high school play, and I saw a group of kids. There must have been about 150 kids involved between the orchestra, the play, and behind the scenes. These kids were fantastic. I mean, they really were great. And I'm saying, look at the odds. We've beaten the odds. Look how many great kids there are. Look how many great kids there are every day. Yeah, there's going to be some kids who go mental. Don't blame the Terminator. Don't blame Marilyn Manson. Don't blame Howard Stern. Don't blame
things they've never really come in contact with.
Look what's come out of this whole killing. The Colorado legislature was able to condemn me. Out of all of this, they can't pass gun legislation so that minors can't get guns. They can't bring themselves to do it, but they condemned me without a hearing. Shame on them.
They've now found 50 bombs.
Right. 50 bombs. You know. And the parents don't know what's going on, whatever.
It's time to make 50 bombs.
But, you know, it would have been brilliant. It would have been brilliant if the legislature had gotten together and condemned the sale of guns to people who can then give them to minors as gifts without any kind of paperwork. Now, that would have been mind-blowing. But they're hypocrites. They're freaks. We know what they did with the gays. We know who they are. Get me their names. I'll follow them personally and find out how they live. And I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of problems. So when I am condemned by the Colorado legislature, I laugh. Take me off the air. Because I know what I said, and I know I said nothing wrong. And in the New York Post today, there was an article run. It wasn't such a bad article, but it says, this is the closest I ever came to an apology. I don't even know what we're talking about here.
Where did you even come close?
I don't know, but that's what John Minnelli said, and I have to dispute what he's saying.
He can't hear either.
And I got to tell you something. And by the way, let's say I said something insensitive, and I'm just so dumb I don't see it. Why would you care about me and what I have to say? What am I, the President of the United States? Who am I? I'm just a dopey guy trying to figure stuff out. That's all. And maybe I'm not a bright guy. Hey, what do you know? I'm not such a bright guy. People are depending on me to be very brilliant and come up with all the right things to say.
Maybe they're buying your advertising.
I'm a genius. Because it's easy to pick on me. That's what's going on here.
You're absolutely right. There is nothing to do in this situation.
There is nothing to do. And I'll tell you a funny story. I sit there and I get crazy from hypocrisy because I grew up in such a hypocritical world. I mean, I grew up with white people who told me, you must live with your brothers. And they moved overnight, in the middle of the night, so that they wouldn't be seen moving out because they're afraid of black skin. I mean, what bigger... People don't do what they preach. I know this about people. People are essentially liars and hypocrites. But what the media could do is, like I said, when I was sitting there watching this play, I said, I can't believe how many great kids there are. You should have seen these kids. The boys, the girls, they come together, they put these plays on. They're serious about it. I mean, you wouldn't believe the memorization. They memorize all these lines. The teachers who are involved in teaching these kids how to act. I sit there and I go, oh, my God. All across America, there's all these great kids, and everyone's condemning kids now. This has been going on. Do you know right now there's ethnic cleansing going on in Africa, all over the place? They don't have TVs. They don't have media. They don't even have films. This is how people are. There are people who are unstable, and when pushed and shoved and ridiculed, they will shoot back. And I know because I was one of them. I fantasized about killing the people who beat me every day. I did. And I don't think I was wrong to. I mean, I went through some heavy times. And I'm telling you, there were days I thought I was going to be killed. And I think that when you're getting punched or you're having metal thrown into your head, you're getting bashed over the head with garbage pails and having your pants stripped off you and you're humiliated, you're disgusted with yourself, you want to kill yourself. And I know this. And I'll tell you something. I guess I was stable enough not to kill somebody. For whatever reason.
Reason to live.
I saw a reason to live. That's even better.
These guys obviously didn't see any reason to go on.
They didn't. They were disturbed guys. When you get a lot of abuse, though, you stop thinking clearly. You start to identify with the people abusing you. You want to be them. You want to... Yeah, and everything I hear on the news about these kids, they wanted to be the jocks. They wanted to be popular.
They wanted to be in the crowd.
Believe me.
In the crowd.
In many ways, I wanted to be believe me, I used to fantasize, God, if I could only be a black guy. If I could just be a black guy, I would fit in. And then they would, and then all these black guys would stop beating me. And I felt that. And listen, I was being beaten because I was white. I know that. I mean, I was a target. And I would cry myself to sleep going, why can't I be black? Why can't I be like everyone else? So I understand what happens. High school's a tough room. And I've always been, I get phobic when I think about high school. I think, oh my God, high school is a prison. They lock you in a room with people who want to kill you.
And you can't get out.
Yeah, and I was so nervous about sending my kids to high school because I, in my mind, had it that they're going to be locked in a room with criminals. I have a fear of that. I admit it. It was like Auschwitz with a curriculum, this high school. And I would go there, and I would be insane from it. And I was insane. And in many ways, I couldn't turn to my parents because my parents were very caught up in that they wanted to live in a black community. They didn't want to be hypocrites. And I only wanted to please them, and I couldn't tell them about my pain. So I sucked it up. So I had no one to turn to. And it's a miracle I didn't pick up a gun and kill people. It's a miracle.
They weren't around.
Right. I didn't have a gun.
You didn't have that option.
My old man didn't even give me a knife collection.
He didn't even hunt.
Right. There were days I carried knives to school. I did. I'll admit that. I was so afraid that... I knew I didn't have it within me to stab anybody. I couldn't.
Did you ever even brandish a knife?
I brought a knife to school, yes, sometimes.
Brandish
No.
No, you never even used it?
No. Because I wanted to live. I didn't want to end up a criminal. I didn't want to end up killing someone. I wouldn't want that on my conscience. But I'm a different kind of guy than the two kids who were out there.
Yeah, but you were actually being beaten.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think sometime you might have just tried to show it to defend yourself, see what happened.
And when I hear pricks like Pat Buchanan, the biggest hypocrite on the planet, talking about how he's going to go to we got to go to Hollywood.
That's where all the problems
are. That's where all the problems are. The people in Hollywood are kind of good. I mean, at least they do some charitable work. I don't know what their motivation is. Sometimes it's not so clear, but yet they do charitable work. And where Pat Buchanan ought to say is, I condemn these anti-abortionists who go around blowing up abortion clinics. That he won't do. Pat Buchanan's a creep and a hypocrite. But he can be oh so charming. He can be oh so charming. And who else are the hypocrites? Boy, am I glad Rosie O'Donnell didn't open her mouth. You know what? She burns my ass, and I'll tell you why. And people say, why are you always on her? Who does she do commercials for? Who's her big one? Kmart?
Kmart, yeah.
What does Kmart sell?
Guns. No.
And isn't she guns, right?
I think they do.
Isn't she anti-gun?
I have no idea.
She's on there screaming about how didn't she do a whole big speech about how we have to protect children? And I'm against guns?
Again, she argues that it's entertainment that's ruining the kids' too.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Well, then throw her out of entertainment because she's ruining me. Is it Kmart that sells the guns, or is it...
Walmart.
Oh, it's Walmart. Does she do Kmart or Walmart?
She does Kmart.
Oh, all right. Is Kmart and Walmart owned by the same people? Would someone investigate that for me?
They're not the same people.
All right, so then I'll take that back. But if someone tells me they are selling guns, then I'll have plenty to say. I think Kathy Lee's into...
Walmart. Yeah, she's...
Walmart, yeah, that's good. She's a good girl. She's another one worried about kids.
I think she worries about her own.
Yeah. So, What can I tell you? You know, I don't mean to get all heavy about it, but, man, imagine just me sitting at home and go, what? I was condemned by the Colorado State Legislature? The first thing that popped into my mind is their status about gays, and I don't remember exactly what the story was, but...
It was about gay rights.
Right.
And they voted to not have any.
Right. Gays are animals, right? So, you know what? I'm proud to be condemned by the county, or whatever, the Colorado Legislature, whatever that is. And they are asking me to be removed from the air for something they didn't even hear. And they're hypocrites. And I know hypocrites because I've seen them my whole life. And it's not pleasant. You know, President Clinton got a hearing. He lied to Congress. He got a hearing. They just condemned me without any sort of knowledge of who I am and what I said. Ridiculous. Hey, Dean, you're on the air.
Hey, Howard, listen, for 3 years I've been listening to you and Rob, and nobody's going to condemn you. You have the back.
No, I've been condemned. What do you mean no one's going to condemn me?
You know what it is? You have that small group of people in Colorado, like you said, with the disc jockeys. But I'm trying to tell you have millions of people that are backing you.
Well, I feel, but you know what? But I got to go on the air because these kinds of things get out of hand. And you know what? I think...
Well, you just pointed it out. It's spread to Cleveland.
Yeah, it's spread to Cleveland. Everyone's trying to get me off the air. And all it is disc jockeys who can't beat me in the ratings.
Exactly what it is.
This isn't about kids.
Of people that know that this is a bunch of crap.
This isn't about kids.
It's time for Howard to get back to the way Howard got on the radio, being Howard Stern, and the people that know who you are, millions of them, are going to stay.
Well, I got to nip this in the bud because I got a station in Denver who's being besieged, and advertisers are all upset, and I got to go on and make myself very, very clear on all of this.
I think you made yourself perfect.
All right, well, the problem is not everybody hears it, but I'm going to drop it after. I wanted to get this off my chest, and I'll drop it for the rest of the show, but I wanted to get it off my chest. I'm sorry, I had to.
Okay.
You know, when I'm under attack, I get, you can tell by the way I grew up, when I'm under attack, I either could back down or I could actually get my juices going and fight back.
It's a couple of people in Colorado. You're going to find out that this problem is more underlining than anything. There's probably going to be parents that probably be involved.
Somebody just slipped me a note. Somebody slipped me a note that says Kmart sells guns, by the way. Rosie O'Donnell, then, is the biggest hypocrite on this friggin' planet.
Howard, just go back to the way you know how to do it.
Thanks. She's on the air talking about how she... Come on.
It's Jerry Springer.
Yeah, Jerry Springer. She's blaming Jerry Springer and the violence. She endorses Kmart. Enough said. Fat hypocrite. Hypocrite. All of them are hypocrites. Except me. Even me. All right, even me. Does Kmart sell guns, really?
I don't know. I don't know either. There.
Maybe she's not a fat hypocrite. I got to look into it. Someone slipped me a note saying that. What are you saying, Benji?
We definitely have several articles confirming in print that they sell guns.
And she does their commercial, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
So why is she... Where are these articles?
I can print some up for you.
Yeah, really? You just read them?
Yeah.
Kmart, not Walmart.
Kmart.
Right.
I mean, maybe yesterday they stopped selling them, but as of yesterday, there's articles talking about guns at Kmart and everything.
Oh, they are? Okay, cool.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, how could she do those... Benji, I ask you, how could she do those commercials?
Maybe she wants people to die. I don't know.
Maybe. But how could she blame Hollywood and then she's endorsing a place that sells guns? And she's screaming about guns. Why is she...
Sure, in her convoluted logic, there's some... It makes sense to her.
The almighty buck,
You know, people can justify anything as well.
But I dared to ask on the air, did these kids have sex with these women before they killed them? I dared to ask that. And I'm sorry, that's how I think. And you know what? So what? That's how I think. But I got to tell you something. There's something wrong with the Colorado State Legislature that can't sit and say, forget Howard Stern, because what do we care what he has to say? Why would we get involved in that?
Let's deal with something real.
Let's deal with the fact that this 18-year-old girl bought a gun and then handed it to kids. And it was legal. She did nothing illegal. That they won't deal with. And they won't deal with the hard question that gay people have rights. I mean, come on. Yeah. Man, I don't know. Yeah, Pete, you're on the air.
Howard.
Yeah.
Howard.
Yeah.
Julie Slater said she wanted to bunk with you.
Is that right?
Yeah, I can get you some ecstasy if you want.
Wow. Up at Woodstock, we're going to have to live in cabins, Robin, and we're going to have to...
You and Julie are going to do some ecstasy together?
Well, yeah, we have to... I don't know if she will, but we have to... All the disc jockeys have to bunk together. So
Yeah,
I'm thinking Julie, aside from you, is the only woman on the station, and I know how you feel about me.
I love you.
Well, you love me like a friend. Real love is...
something else.
Yeah. You know, if you cared about me, you'd release my pressure. I thought yesterday you were going to give me sex because you felt bad for me when you saw those reporters hounding me. And you were going to try
I didn't even see any reporters.
Oh, you didn't? Where were you?
I heard about
Thank you. Yes, Karen.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Howard, do you remember that this is the same legislature that voted down Martin Luther King Day?
Was it Denver or...
No, that was Arizona.
It was Arizona.
No. Look into it again. Look further. I remember the stories. This is the same legislature.
If it is, I'm going to have to laugh. Hey, Benji, why don't you research the Denver legislature, see if they vetoed Martin Luther King Day.
They did. They're incredibly narrow-minded. They're terribly conservative, and they've probably been waiting for this opportunity to pounce on you.
Yeah, by the way, I don't mind conservative, but at least, find out what I had to say. Look into what Karen just said. I got to know that. I have an interesting story for you. This is not on this topic. Have I covered this topic enough? Should I drop it now?
Yes.
Okay, you feel I've done it. Have I said enough?
I think so.
Okay. One last call. Let's see what Dave has to say, and then we'll drop it.
Yeah. This is Dave out of Colorado.
Yeah.
Denver here.
Yeah.
And, boy, that general manager is pretty antsy on this thing. I would really encourage your fans here in Denver to call the station to support you because it looks pretty like they might get canceled if your fans don't back you out here.
Yeah, I don't really know what to tell fans to do. You know what? I'll tell you something, Dave. I honestly don't care if they take me off the air.
I know you don't care, but I care, and your fans.
Well, then my fans better really do something quick. Yeah.
And with the CBS show too, they say they preempted that this week in Denver. And I'm not sure exactly what that's about.
Can you imagine?
It all, or if they're just going to delay it, but.
Can you imagine? They preempted it that I shouldn't be seen?
They say it's going to be preempted. I'm not sure if they're going to.
Oh, shame on all of you.
So
this is absurd.
To call the CBS station out here. Channel
so I've been condemned. I've been convicted of saying, gee, I wonder if they had sex with no one else wondered that. And what's wrong with me? You mean I can't? Wondering is against the law, but the selling of guns isn't. Okay. Whatever. Take the show. Take the TV show. I should pull the TV show. I don't even want people in Denver seeing it.
Well,
what do you think of that?
I care, Howard.
I know. Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't even have the E channel. That's all I got is the radio.
Pull everything and do me a favor. Shut up. Shut down shop is what they say.
Well, what I say to the fans of Colorado is please call these stations, 96.5 The Peak and the Channel 4 station out here, or Howard's dangerously going to get pulled out.
No, why don't you look up all the names of the state legislators and call them and tell them, I don't know, those guys elected?
I think the Denver people need to do something.
Right.
I think you've got a lot of fans out here.
Well, it's out of control, and anyone who was a fan of mine didn't call and complain. They heard the show.
Right.
All right, thanks, man.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Are you getting the console over?
I'm almost puking.
Like
I am. I'm vomiting. Mike, yes?
Hi, Howard. How are you?
How are you, darling?
Robin, you look beautiful.
Thank you.
But anyway, Howard, I was at Kmart the other day, and I believe I saw they have like a hunting, not like a counter there for like hunting and fishing. And
so how does this Rosie O'Donnell, this hypocrite of all hypocrites, how does she do commercials for them if they're selling guns?
I have no idea.
And she's so upset. How could she get on and scream about Jerry Springer when she goes on and does commercials for a place that actually sells guns? What are we talking about here? Do you see that people do anything for money?
Yeah,
you do?
She's a big-headed...
She's a big lummox. Thank you.
True. Howard,
yeah.
How about some tickets for Woodstock?
All right, hold on.
Thank you.
I was going to read you this letter. This guy supports me. He's a listener, a long-time listener. You want to hear it? It's about Colorado, but I thought it was a pretty intelligent letter.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to read it, and I've kind of dropped the topic. I did a whole hour on it this morning. But, dear Tom, he wrote it to, this guy's the president of a company. I don't know if I guess he'd want his company mentioned. I'm not sure. He wrote it to our general manager.
Okay.
It's a big company. You've all heard of it. I'm a 42-year-old male married for 25 years with a 14-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son. I happen to be a fan of the Howard Stern Show. I'm only reading this because I think this guy says it all. I travel frequently for my work and happen to be on the road for long periods of time where I can listen to Howard Stern without interruption. Last week, after the tragedy in Colorado, I was fortunate enough to be able to listen to Howard's show for 4 out of the 5 days. It was during this time that Howard began discussing this awful event that took place in Colorado. I was fascinated to listen to Howard as he began to think out loud about what could possibly lead a young man to do such horrific things. I was listening that day that a listener called in and told Howard that he had watched television coverage of the event and was excited to see young girls running out of the school. Howard began to discuss this with the listener, and I listened carefully to all of Howard's comments. Frankly, I was afraid that Howard might say something in one of those awkward moments when people try to hide how uncomfortable they are with the laughter. It happens to all of us at one time or another, when we find ourselves making light of a situation to hide how uncomfortable we really are. Howard does this from time to time, and I thought that he just might make a fool of himself this particular day. What I heard firsthand was Howard Stern discussing difficult and frank topics with more care and sensitivity than I had ever heard before. Howard was upset by the situation, as many of us throughout the nation are. Howard has several daughters. I have a 14-year-old daughter. I was interested in how Howard viewed this event, having daughters that are approximately the same age as some of the people that were killed by the gunmen in Colorado. Throughout 4 days that I listened to his show, Howard Stern conducted himself with such dignity and sensitivity. I grew to admire him even more. It was clear to me that Howard Stern was speaking for many of us those days after the Colorado shooting as he tried to make sense of a senseless tragedy. Today, Howard discussed the fact that certain people are attempting to blame him for some of the comments he made during those early days after the shooting. I cannot believe that anyone in their right mind, after hearing, of course not, no one complained. It's these 2 disc jockeys that work at a Colorado radio station, and now the Colorado state legislature has jumped on the bandwagon because they're trying to look like they're doing something. Anyway, I can't believe that anyone in their right mind, after hearing Howard talk for 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, could find anything wrong with what he said about the events to the people of Colorado. It's a shame that people can take 3 or 4 sound bites out of 20 hours of programming and say that Howard Stern conducted himself improperly. It just didn't happen that way. I listened to the show and I know what I heard. I believe that what is taking place with these charges is what we call a railroad. And the shame of it all is that the guy really handled himself quite well for once. He really did talk about what could drive a kid to do this and what motivated Howard when he was a kid. He had a conversation with his daughter on the air about the shooting. He analyzed the terrible situation from many angles, as Howard tends to do. And I got to be honest with you, Howard Stern did not say anything that could be construed as improper if you were listening to the entire segment as he took call after call. I am writing in support of Howard and the entire show. Please feel free to use this letter any way you feel is proper. What's happening to Howard is wrong, and people need to speak out about this. I, for one, will stand by Howard Stern on this one. And I thank you for that, because it's written very well, don't you think, Robin?
Oh, yes. Quite an intelligent letter.
You know, as I said this morning, I've discussed the Colorado events from about 5 million different angles, and quite frankly, why would you care what I had to say? I'm an idiot disc jockey. Why are people treating me like I'm the President of the United States? If I was a stripper and I was Miss Nude World,
nobody would have heard you.
But because I'm a disc jockey, evidently it's important. Why would you demean yourself if you're the state legislator? Why would you demean yourself and care what I think? Who am I?
It's a pretty sad commentary on what they think they can do.
And the amazing thing is, I'm sitting here wondering aloud why these kids killed these students, and evidently wondering aloud is now illegal and politically incorrect.
It is banned in Denver.
But the state legislator in Colorado actually allows people 18 years old to go in and buy guns and then give them as gifts to children. They allow that in Colorado, and they're sitting and debating me. Today, the state Senate will rule on me. And can you imagine? On comments that aren't even bad.
And then they can wash their hands of this whole event. We don't have other things to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something to worry about. Got to be. Did we ever find out if they're the ones that banned Martin Luther King Day?
I don't think that is the case. But,
we're going to find out.
Investigators in Colorado still don't think there will be any arrests in the Colorado shooting.
Of course not. They're busy condemning me.
That's right.
Arrest the parents.
That's the word from the sheriff's spokesman, Steve Davis. His boss, the sheriff, John Stone, says he does not want to, or he does want to re-interview 3 teens detained outside of Columbine High School during the attack. There were 3 guys wearing fatigues.
My mom was even saying to me...
Arrested just for that.
Yeah, my mom was even saying to me, like, she goes, I knew everything you were up to in the house. I went through your drawers. I was like the FBI. How could you not know your kids are making bombs and have anti-Semitic literature?
I don't see how you could have the materials for up to 50 bombs and nobody see anything.
Yeah, although I did say to my mom, how do you explain that I had a pound of pot sitting in your house?
A pound of pot
Yeah,
is
but
one
come
thing.
on,
50 bombs is another thing.
And you know what? I saw one of the mothers on a news story, and she was in the beauty parlor like 4 days after this happened.
Talking to a beautician, you're right, because the beautician was quoted.
And she said, I don't know that kid.
That kid that they're describing.
That kid,
I don't know.
Who's that, the mom of the...
Mom of one of the kids.
Yeah,
Wow.
she was already at the beauty parlor.
I don't even know him,
obviously. Well, she didn't say it like that. She was saying, I don't know the kid they're describing. Like, the kid...
Right, she saw a different kid.
Yeah, why she's getting her hair fixed.
Yeah, that might be... Maybe that's a little insensitive.
4 days after?
Yeah. I realize I'm being framed for so-called insensitive comments, but you might not want to go to the beauty parlor 4 days after your kid shoots up a school.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought that was odd that I saw the beautician was quoted in stories. I was like, beautician? What was she doing at the beautician's?
Hey, don't you think it's a major story that I've uncovered not that I've uncovered, but that I thought of here? That Rosie O'Donnell endorses Kmart, and she's screaming about guns. I mean, seriously, don't you think somebody ought to write about that?
Absolutely it is.
Maybe, get some of the heat off me?
Turn the attention somewhere else.
She did a whole rap about, did you see it? She did a whole rap about Jerry Springer and violence in our society, and someone's got to start doing something about guns.
Perpetrating.
Meanwhile, she's endorsing Kmart. They sell guns. Well, please.
That's where I used to buy my BB guns and stuff.
What you used to buy?
BB guns.
Yeah, BB guns.
And they had rifles there and everything, too.
Yeah. I ought to call Richard Johnson and have him write a column. Say, hey, Richard, what do you think of this angle?
Well, you can.
Yeah, I never do. I don't want to tell people what to write.
Anyway, these three kids knew, they say, who the gunmen were before it was announced. That's why they think they might have known more than they did. And there's just too much going on here for people to believe these two kids did it all by themselves. 50 bombs have now been found in and around the school in cars.
Every cop they interview says, no way they did it themselves.
Yeah. And
they had big propane tanks.
It seems like, quite a long time in the planning and preparation.
Yeah. Nigga, please. They had to have help.
Oh,
would you stop with that? Seriously.
You're just being silly.
You're a white guy.
You want to say that? Go down on the street and say it.
Yeah.
Up here, it's easy.
Well, if I have a reason to, I might.
Oh, yeah, right. The only reason would be nobody's on the street but you.
I say to my friends.
Go ahead downstairs and say it.
I was saying it to you the other night.
No, you were not.
Come on,
liar.
nigga, please.
How liar. Such a liar. Such a liar.
Did you see the movie Go yet?
Yes.
Yeah. The white kid saying nigga please in the back, and the black guy turns around and goes, what are you talking about? He goes, I got like a great-grandmother that was black. He goes, I'm black. We got to take a quick break. We'll do more news for you right after this. Hey, Mondo, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, Howard?
Hey, man.
I just so what's said about this Denver situation, your remarks and everything.
What?
This guy must be from Denver or something.
No, I'm not from Denver. I'm from New York, Howard.
Did you hear any of the explanations I gave?
I just heard about it, and I read most of it in the paper this morning also.
Yeah, I know. Well, the papers are framing me, and I can't go into it now because I really have to finish the news and go.
What do you mean you can't go into it?
Because I've done endless hours on it. Okay?
And you're taking your opinion from the newspaper.
Yeah, you're taking
how right they always are.
Yeah, you're taking your opinion from the newspaper.
You're always right, too. Giggle.
Oh, shut up. Okay, I'm not going to deal with this guy. All right, go ahead, Robin.
So anyway, in Denver, they're still doing this investigation. They've done toxicology reports on the two shooters because sometimes people think, well, they must have been drugged or doped up to do such things. So here is Sheriff Department spokesman Steve Davis to talk about the toxicology results. Number one.
No, you're number one, Robin.
Hey, now.
Toxicology reports on all the victims and the two gunmen are complete, and there was nothing found in anyone's bloodstream, including alcohol or any types of drugs.
Yeah.
So they weren't on anything.
Yeah, I didn't think they were.
Davis also says that Robin Anderson, the girlfriend of Dylan Klebold, has been questioned a number of times and has gotten herself an attorney. She gave two of the guns that were used in this shooting to Harris and Klebold after she bought them at a gun show when she turned 18.
Yeah, and that's legal in Colorado.
So far, they say she's being cooperative and no arrests are imminent. Here is Steve Davis again.
She bought at least 2 weapons. She, again, has been interviewed, released, has not been charged, has retained counsel as far as I'm aware of.
And they say if she were to have had prior knowledge of what those guns were going to be used for, she could be held as an accessory to 13 murders.
Well, I don't think she's going to cop to that.
He had a girlfriend? How much of a loser could he have been?
I know, it doesn't seem like they were like real intelligent.
Yeah.
They were wealthy. They had girlfriends. I saw pictures of them. They didn't look all that nerdy.
Yeah, no.
But, because to me it was like sort of a case of Revenge of the Nerds, I mean...
Yeah, that's the way they said it.
Well, the way it's being described, though, is that so they had all that stuff, but that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted the good stuff.
Right.
This still wasn't good enough what they had.
Yeah, they wanted the cheerleaders and the...
Yeah.
They wanted
to be as popular as the jocks.
Right. Hey, I can relate to that, man. I told a story about my childhood growing up. I got the crap beat out of me on a daily basis, and I used to pray that I could be my oppressor.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because also in the news today is a story from West Hartford where a federal harassment lawsuit has been filed by a student at the American School for the Deaf.
Right.
Nicole Brockman has sued the West Hartford school, claiming she was bullied and threatened by classmates. The lawsuit claims other students threatened her with death, physically attacked her, and broke into the school office to steal her psychiatric records. She claims that school officials ignored her complaints or blamed her for being too sensitive.
Man, I should have filed lawsuits in my high school. I would have made a fortune.
An attorney for the school denies the allegations. Brockman, a senior from Plainville, lived at the school as a freshman, but moved back home in 1996 because she couldn't take it, and now she's fighting back in court.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to go into that story that I did this morning. Go ahead.
A hardware store worker is providing new clues to how the Colorado school killers prepared. Gary Soule says he saw them buying a slew of materials that authorities think were bomb ingredients. The items included propane tanks, nails, wire, screws, and duct tape. Soule says Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold came in more than a dozen times in recent months. He also tells the Denver Post he copied several keys for them marked "Do Not Duplicate." The clerk says teachers routinely send students in to have such keys copied. Meanwhile, the sheriff... What?
Shouldn't he have said something to someone?
Well, he didn't think anything was going on either. Even the cop who wound up trading fire with these guys said that he never had a problem with them. Never. This was not the guy he thought would come to school with a gun one day.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the sheriff plans to talk more to the 3 teenagers in the combat fatigues who stopped outside the school during the attack. All knew the names of the gunmen before their names were made public.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they must have known something.
What's up with that?
Or maybe they knew something. Who knows?
Newspaper reports say the Marine Corps rejected one of the Columbine High School killers just days before the attack.
Imagine getting rejected from the Marines.
Yeah.
They'll take any idiot.
The Washington Post says Eric Harris had applied for the Marines earlier this year, but the Post says he was turned down after Marines learned he had lied when he told recruiters he was not on any medication.
Mm-hmm.
The New York Times says his parents told recruiters about the medical factor April 15th. The Post described the medication as mood-altering drugs. 5 days later, Harris and Dylan Klebold shot up their high school, ultimately killing themselves. An autopsy found no evidence of drugs in his system, so he wasn't even taking his medication at the time of the shooting.
So one of the kids was on medication.
Yeah, he was, supposedly on antidepressants.
So they were trying to get him normal.
Last year, Harris had agreed to undergo psychiatric counseling and possible treatment after being arrested for breaking into an automobile. They also say that they did not shoot each other. They actually committed suicide and they died of their wounds. There was some speculation that after they found out they couldn't get out of the building because apparently they had tried to escape.
Right.
They wanted to get out of there and go do some other things.
Right.
But they were blocked by sheriff's deputies, and so they wound up committing suicide. But it wasn't like one shot one and the other killed himself. They both committed suicide.
How'd they do it? Did they shoot themselves in the head?
I don't know exactly where they shot themselves, but the autopsy report shows that it was suicide, not murder.
Just 2 points I'll make real quick. I made them earlier this morning. It's just that I love all the attention that's given to bad kids, so now everyone in the media plays this up, and other kids who are disturbed start to imitate this. And you never see any reports about how many great kids there are in this country. I mean, seriously, you just don't. It's just like now every kid is bad. And secondly, they're looking to blame people for this, myself included, that I'm insensitive or something because I asked if the kids had sex beforehand with the girls before they killed them. That's evidently insensitive. I don't know. I wanted to know the motive. But the thing that's somewhat important to remember here is, like Rosie O'Donnell blames Jerry Springer, and, then Pat Buchanan blames Hollywood, and, this one blames that one. And everyone's looking to blame, so they're looking to blame the parents, and, the thing you got to keep in mind is that high school sucks, and that really popular kids sometimes are real mean, and they push these unstable kids into weird situations. I'm telling you. I mean, if I had been the slightest bit sort of violent, I know I would have killed many people. I lived in an all-black community, and on a daily basis I was beaten and robbed, and probably would have been justified killing certain people.
It's easy to snap in high school.
It's easy to snap. And I'm telling you, man.
Didn't you ever get into, well, you were so alone,
and you're forced
you don't
to
know, but a lot of times you see yourself doing this to kids, and you want, am I pushing them too far?
And you're forced to go every day. It's not like you just can't. You can't avoid the situation.
And it's every day the same thing.
Every day I went in. Every day I was choked till I passed out. Every day I was punched in the face. I was hit with metal garbage pails in the head. And you know what? If I was an adult and this was happening to me, the police would be called in, charges would be pressed, assistance would be given, and my high school teachers would turn their back. They saw what was going on.
Well, it's just like this kid who filed a suit. Nobody came to her. They told her she was too sensitive, or she couldn't, she wasn't handling it properly.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I couldn't get any help. And the thing is, if I had walked in with a gun and blown away a couple of these guys, I think I would have been within my rights in any other situation except for high school. So when you're looking for blame, and this is what should be looked at by the authorities, is how difficult is it to go into a high school today and deal with this crap when you're a young kid, when you're the brunt of all kinds of, in my case, racism, but,
But it happens at every school.
That's right.
And there's always some kid who's singled out, regardless of what it's for.
And I see this going on at work. You wonder why guys go postal? Because you got a bunch of idiots working there who are goofing on the weak guys, and they go postal.
Scott, the engineer.
What about Scott, the engineer?
He might go.
He's not going to go. He's fine. There are other guys who might go, and I'm telling you
Ralph
something.
might go.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not sure who's going to blow around.
I don't want to dwell on it, but that's really, high school, jeez. High school would be tough.
What can you do about that?
What you can do about that is sort of say to kids who are really being bullies, and the teachers know what's going on. You got to say, hey, listen, dude, these kids could snap. And you know what? Why don't you just back off a little and take a break?
Well, I'll tell you now. Now these kids are. I think people are going to think twice in high school.
No, they aren't.
No, they aren't.
This will be forgotten.
No.
You'd think that this hasn't happened before. We've had several incidents of this over the past year, and everybody goes right. Those kids in Columbine didn't learn from the other incidents.
Yeah, but this was so many, so.
Okay, Ralph.
This has been going. And by the way,
history.
Columbine is not unusual. This has been going on throughout history.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I was saying to Robin this morning, in Africa, where there's no media, no Hollywood, I'm talking about, there is ethnic cleansing going on, mass murder, like you never saw. It has nothing to do with media. There are violent people in our society, genetically violent, who get dealt a bad deck of cards. Their intelligence level might not be high. They're random individuals.
And the job then becomes to wipe out everybody you don't
That's right.
like.
And they go nuts. And there's no way to prevent, in all seriousness, watching these, politicians stuff scramble on the news to look like they're doing something, there's nothing they can do about this. This is called...
but it's getting worse. I mean, you didn't...
okay. No, it's getting worse. 20 years ago, you did have it. It's been happening all along.
When did 20 years ago?
Dude, 20 years ago, I was getting wiped out in school, and other kids were knifing teachers. You know, in my school, they were knifing teachers.
I'm just saying it's escalated.
Oh, get out of here. Go ahead. I got to get out of here.
Ralph, you really got to study history.
Right.
What am I saying?
What do you think Nazi Germany was?
What do you think slavery was?
Yeah, I mean, this has been going on.
I'm talking about high school. High school.
The kids in the rural South weren't running around hanging people just for being
all the
black.
time. It's been going on, and there's always going to be bad apples.
Nazi youth weren't turning in their parents if they didn't say that.
But look at all the high schools. That's right. That's good. Listen, look at all the high schools that nothing goes on it. It's completely without incident. Completely. I mean, there's no way to regulate this kind of thing. There's no way to sort of watch every student. And really, what it's about is just tell your kids, man, if you know.
Well, now everybody's got the platitudes. Well, you ought to talk to your kids every day.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you ought to be close to them.
Not going to happen. Meanwhile, the parents of these kids, man, I don't know how they didn't know pipe bombs were going down. I don't get that.
You got to be really
yeah.
unattached.
You know, every parent goes through their kid's room and looks things over.
I don't think that's true. But obviously, these parents do.
Well, that is true. They don't. Anyway, come on, Robin. I got to leave, actually, so I want to make sure we get to the news.
You want to go? A 16-year-old New Britain high school student has been charged with threatening to kill another student. Jason Levesque was arrested near the high school on Monday morning. Jason is accused of stalking, possessing a firearm, having a weapon on the school grounds, and threatening.
Hey, Rouse, right. It's happening more and more.
It's happening more and more. Right. A fellow student, a 14-year-old girl, told police that Levesque had threatened on Sunday night to hurt her and her friends. Police say he reportedly showed her a gun, and a search was launched for him. He was found on Monday morning walking toward the school, but no gun was found on him at the time.
Wow.
At his arraignment yesterday, the judge said that the teen wasn't just kidding around and ordered him held on $200,000 bond. You could ask, what were those parents doing? Did they know their kid had a gun?
Come on, you got to blame the parents.
School officials throughout New Jersey say the fake bomb scares and other threats have finally slowed down a week after the deadly attack in Colorado. A 14-year-old in Elizabeth was arrested yesterday after police say he claimed to be a member of the Trenchcoat Mafia and threatened to blow up the school. The youth faces a charge of terroristic threatening. A 17-year-old student in East Brunswick was also charged for his claim that there was a bomb in high school.
I'll tell you.
Interrupted in Cranford after a bomb scare there, and similar threats briefly cleared school buildings in Cherry Hill and Vineland.
See, I'll tell you how weird it gets. Like, when I was growing up, I was good friends with a guy. Regular guy, you know, hung out with him, good dude. He grew up, he had a breakdown in college, and became homeless. You met him, actually. He was on the show.
Yes, I know that.
He's dead now. He went homeless. He went like mad.
Totally off.
All right, and then he said, well, I guess the parents are bad parents. Meanwhile, he had two brothers. Who were
perfectly fine.
One's a doctor who's very successful, brilliant guy, great guy, and another brother who's a really successful businessman, great in the community, the whole thing like that.
Yeah, who are you going to blame?
Yeah, so who do you blame? You going to blame the parents? Not everybody's a bad parent. Sometimes you get a kid who's screwy. It's luck of the draw sometimes. Anybody who's a parent knows that.
And you can certainly say, maybe one of these kids was on medication. The other one was heavily or easily influenced.
Right. There's always a rotten egg. So, it's real confusing.
Meanwhile,
but most of the time, these kids have no supervision. Both the parents are working. Both the parents are working.
Super what?
That's you know what I'm saying.
All right, whatever.
A bill aimed at protecting children from violent TV.
I was close.
Violent TV shows is being offered up in the U.S. Senate today. The measure would allow broadcasters and cable TV companies to air violent shows only when children would be unlikely to watch. Well, that's no time of the day, then.
Ralph is a douchebag.
They can pay them.
The bill's sponsor is Democrat Ernest Hollings of South Carolina. He says the school shooting in Littleton, Colorado shows that violence in American culture is, quote, begetting violence by our youth.
Enough of the shooting already. Don't you have anything else?
Hollings' bill calls for the Federal Communications Commission to decide the time period for violent shows and what constitutes a violent program.
You're upsetting Ralph.
So now we're going to regulate TV because of this shooting.
Let's talk about chicks.
Shooting.
Hey, Bob.
Hello?
Yeah, hey, Bob, I got to run out of here today, so I want to talk to you.
Tomorrow?
It's me. It's Howard.
I know who you are.
Oh. What?
I didn't call to get on the air or try and promote anything. All I wanted to say is that I support you, that my parents are Holocaust survivors. Hogan's Heroes was a big sitcom, and the country wasn't going nuts about that.
Thank you.
And that was about a concentration camp, and Life is Beautiful won awards, and nobody went nuts about that either. I heard what you said. I listened to your show. You weren't putting down the victims that got killed there.
No, of course not. I never would. I don't find anything about it funny. I just hate this whole thing that's going on around me. But evidently it doesn't matter what I say because the newspapers and everybody else have gotten their teeth into me. And they see they're getting...
I'm in support of you. I'm actually going to Denver to do a benefit tonight. I forced the club into doing it. into donating all the money to the Victims Fund. But you know what I understand what you said, and you know what? You're one of the few people that make me laugh consistently, and I didn't see anything malicious in what you did.
All right, thanks, man. I do appreciate that. Bob Schimmel.
I didn't call him.
And he's a professional comedian.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, it's rather insulting because Bob didn't find anything funny about what I do.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? No, but Bob, thanks, man.
Okay.
You know I love you.
We appreciate the support.
Bob Schimmel's a great guy. And he's right about Hogan's Heroes. I don't see anybody upset about that. Let's crack a few jokes about people going into ovens.
Come on, that was a great show.
It was a great show. Okay, so you put it in its proper...
The sweet, funny Germans.
And I wasn't even trying to make a joke. I was sitting there going, geez.
We were just speculating.
Oh, please, we were just
But
talking.
even if you were, I mean, you should be able to say what you want.
Yeah, well...
Oh, you think this is a free country? What's wrong with you?
But the point is... this isn't even offensive, what I said. Okay, thanks, Bob.
This was a free country. You could say nigga, please.
No, but everybody sure will get a lot of free publicity out of it.
Oh, yeah, and then everyone will look like they're doing something. But meanwhile, the Colorado legislature can't pass a law that forbids 18-year-olds to buy weapons and give them to kids. Whatever. Hey, thanks, Bob.
Yeah. Well,
if I didn't have to go, I'd sit and talk to you.
that's okay. Listen, I didn't call to get on. I just came to call to tell you that I support you.
Thanks.
Well, since Bob brings it up, and you brought it up about the gun control, well, President Clinton is going to try to pass some new gun control laws in the wake of this whole school shooting thing. He thinks because of the emotional condition of the country that he'll be able to slip it through Congress. But Trent Lott, who's also in Congress, says he's we shouldn't be acting so fast with, reacting to this kind of a thing. Here's Trent Lott, number 3.
To do the typical knee-jerk reaction, oh, goodness, we've had crime, and therefore what we need is gun control. That's what you get in Washington. But that alone is not the answer.